Black Male Spirituality, back again with another message. As always, I want to shout out all of my high value, high vibrational brothers. Want to send love to all the high vibrational, lovely ladies who may be listening. So I'm not going to be very long on this message, but I think I've just come to the conclusion, especially in light of a lot of things, but more recently, this Jonathan Majors controversy. I've come to the conclusion that I think I'm done with mainstream stuff, mainstream entertainment specifically. I also have very serious issues with mainstream media, mainstream academia, mainstream education. And the big thing is this, I just don't think any of these institutions on our side as black men. They don't support us as black men. They'll take the side of other minority groups or women above us. And it's not to say that, other minority groups don't have legitimate issues or that, women don't experience mistreatment. Obviously, I don't want to say the words or domestic type situations. That stuff is real, but there are a lot of situations where black men are falsely accused. And again, I think it just plays into that image that the larger society has of us, that we're predatory, that we're violent, that we mistreat women, that we, violate women, that we assault women, all that kind of stuff. And, I think it's kind of interesting too, because on one hand, you have that, but on the other hand, and again, this happened in Jonathan Major's case. On the other hand, they have, this whole emasculated, more feminine, you know, look they want to put on black men. And to me, I think there's a lot of prejudice there, including people against people who are LGBT or who are different than other men who are more feminine. Those men exist, but I have a feeling that, society sees a strong, traditionally black man as a threat. That's why, our civil rights leaders were all killed or deleted, I should say. Sorry, YouTube. That's why, the CIA, was spying on different leaders, the Black Panthers, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, people like that. I know nowadays they're trying to look into the Black manosphere now, the FBI at least. But at any rate, for me, I really started, seeing my issues with a lot of, especially in movies, TV, with Hollywood. For me, it all started with The Force Awakens, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and John Boyega, who was in the movie, black man, black actor in that movie, he came forward and said he didn't like how Disney handled things with him or his character. They made his character essentially a runaway slave who was a coward, who didn't want to stand up and fight back against the people who enslaved him or had him fight for them. He wanted to run and hide, whereas you had the strong, empowered white female character who was a prodigy at the Force when she just, started learning about it, could fight with a lightsaber perfectly and beat an experienced, essentially Sith Lord. I know Kylo Ren's part of the Knights of Ren, so he's a little different, but just seeing that, it's just like you're so about girl power, which let's be honest, is white girl power. It's not even like, to a certain extent, in certain areas, they are pushing black women, being strong and all of that. Obviously, we talk a lot about that in this part of YouTube. But, looking at mainstream Hollywood, it's just like it's really empowering white women. And again, it's not to say that white women have historically had some certain disadvantages because of their gender, sexual harassment, you know, intimate partner violence, things that's all happened. But black men have had been at the bottom. Black men are the ones who have their lives ended by government agents all the time. They're trashed by people outside the race, people within the race, especially, if you get out of line and have the wrong opinions. So at any rate, I just thought that was odd. It's like you want to uplift all these other groups, but not the group that's had it the hardest, which I would say is black men. And then, with the whole T'Challa thing and, with Chadwick Boseman, he passes away, If it were a white actor, like what they did with William Hurt, they recast his character to be played by another white man, Harrison Ford, after Mr. Hurt passed away. Tragically, he's a great actor. But they didn't do the same thing for the black man. They wanted to replace the black man with a black female character who took his place. And oh, Wakanda was perfectly fine. I mean, I do think, they did show some of the consequences of taking the black man away from a society, from a community. I think subtly they kind of touched on that. But overall, I was just taken aback because it's not like there's a lot of black male characters in the Marvel universe. I mean, there's War Machine and Nick Fury, and they've of course taken the liberty of making Nick Fury kind of a joke. Again in a movie where they're trying to uplift, a strong white female or woman, but again, making the black man's character a joke. Oh, he lost his eye because a cat scratched it out. I mean, it's just little things like this. It kind of makes me think of, what the wokesters say about microaggressions. I feel like there's a lot of microaggressions, quote unquote, coming against black people, especially black men. They either want to make us weak or a violent ruffian, essentially. That's how they want to portray us. And, again, just with this, Jonathan Majors situation, this guy is coming out with text messages, video suggesting that this woman is full of crap. I mean, in fact, she herself said she was full of crap in those texts, but people still want to try to interpret those text messages as, oh, well, see, that's just how a DV victim behaves you know Again, they didn't really want to look into, wait, what about Mr. Major's claims that she was the one who was the aggressor? Is the DA looking into that? Are the police looking into that? Of course, I've been hearing that there's body cam of the police trying to coach the woman, who, after Mr. Majors supposedly beat her up, she went to the club and was taking shots, didn't have any problem with her fingers, didn't have any problem with her face being scratched up at the club. It just doesn't make sense. And then conveniently, as Jonathan Majors is coming forward with just bits and pieces to show his side of the story, is like, oh, there's multiple people, who didn't report him for some reason back when it supposedly happened. And again, it'd be one thing if he was just like some random guy, no money, no one has anything to gain from him. He's not in the news media, and independently different women came forward without knowing of the other women and said, oh, this guy did X, Y, or Z. That's a little bit more believable. But when it's a successful black man who's making money, who can probably be civilly sued and be able to pay the judgments, it's just suspicious. But people are, willing to just say, oh, well, there's so many numbers, so it's automatically true. They don't consider that in this society where people have been very hostile to the black male success, and then obviously to other minority groups too, but especially the black men, there's a long history of them trying to tear us down. And they don't think maybe this could be one of the ploys. For me, what's also suspicious is that he did that whole photo shoot where they had him dressing, pretty, what a lot of people consider feminine. It's like, so they're trying to do this whole weird emasculation thing, followed by tearing him down while he's, making his rise. His management company dropped him. Marvel apparently hasn't done it yet, but I don't know. I've seen this before. Michael Jackson showed us you can be a black man who was acquitted of harming, in Michael's case, children. You can be acquitted of hurting a woman or a child, but they still will make a crappy documentary and get people who testified in your favor to now say, oh, he was actually hurting me this whole time, with Wade Robson, James Safechuck, if you're talking about Michael Jackson. But I don't know, all this together, I just, between how they treat black men when they're accused just by automatically jumping to believe the accuser, how they portray us in media, how they want to uplift every other group besides us. I don't know. I just get sick of it, honestly. And, it's kind of sad because I've always been a big, Marvel fan, MCU fan. I liked geek culture, I like TV shows, but I'm just not excited for it. And it goes beyond the issues with the hostility towards black men or the disrespect, in my opinion, to the black male image. I mean, a lot of this stuff is just unwatchable. They're so focused on pushing the latest cause and group to support that they don't want to tell good stories. They don't want to cater to what their customer base actually wants. I understand, obviously making content for different groups of people, but it's just like even with the groups of people they're trying to cater to, She-Hulk made women look bad. I know a lot of women who are nothing like Jennifer Walters, not some self-absorbed jerk idiot who's only cares about herself and cares about her career, doesn't want to use her talents to help other people. Most women I know want to use their talents to help other people. If they had superpowers, they wouldn't say, "Oh, I just want to focus on my career." But I mean, it's just the quality's poor. The messages are clearly biased. It's okay if you want to talk about certain things, identity, politics related things, or even, political things, but be even-handed and don't, try to come at men or white people like they're always the issue. And again, I make no apologies for actual white racists, but to me, it's all part of the same thing. Whether it's believing men are all bad, believing black men are all bad, or believing every white guy is evil, or every, it's just getting so insane to me. And again, I don't want to say this. I don't want to be done with mainstream entertainment. I mean, I've already been done with the mainstream news media, and I'm no longer in school, but I do not intend to, you know, donate anything to the school I went to for my personal reasons, but just because I don't agree with the system. I just don't. And it's fine. Hey, there might be some people getting my comments who disagree with me here. You're free to patronize this. I'm just saying for myself and my suggestion to other black men that I be done with it, and I think other black men should be done with it. We're already building black male spaces and male content. I mean, I watch YouTube more than anything, not just, black male content, but just general stuff in YouTube. I'm tired of these politically correct corporations who they're really pushing these positive, politically correct messages just so that people will get off their back in terms of the economic stuff. After Occupy Wall Street started happening, that's when you started seeing, oh, well, we as companies, we're gonna, push all this politically correct, woke stuff to show that we're good people, even though you're controlled by very privileged people, very, mostly older white men, you know, and it's just like, oh, they want to be the good guys now. It's not genuine. It's not, even when they do try to reach out to black men or black people, again, it's just patronizing stuff, and again, they're pushing all the messages. I mean, even music. I mean, I probably will hold on to music just because I'm that much of a music fan and I don't see as many of the problems with the music as I do with the movies and TV coming out now. But still, I mean, even from that perspective, it's like they push bad messages that encourage breakup of families, encourage, women, especially our women, to walk around like they don't need a man and that they can just have kids with no father in the house, even though statistically that's insane you know. And again, I mean, I know my buddy Ricky Manor probably attacked the music, with all these messages, about glorifying gangster culture and glorifying 304 culture, glorifying, promiscuity from both men and women. I know a lot of people say, oh, men, it's different for men, but still, it's just like they're pushing all these things that have been very destructive and corrosive to our community. And then at the same time, they disrespect us, especially us as black men. So I don't know, guys. I think I'm done. You make your own decision. I'm not some cult leader or anything like that. You can make your own decision. But for myself, from what I'm seeing, the disrespect to black men, the negativity. I mean, I haven't even gotten, maybe I should dig a little bit more into the spirituality before I close. I mean, talk about allegations. What about all the allegations of all the weird, dark stuff that some of these Hollywood people get up to? These weird parties and rituals. No one wants to talk about that. I mean, they'll talk about it a little bit. Like they'll say, "Oh, we'll go after Harvey Weinstein, or we'll expose Jeffrey Epstein to a certain extent, at least." You know, I mean, there's just the overall darkness in the entertainment industry, on all fronts. And I don't know, just all that together, maybe if it was like, one thing like, maybe some of the messages aren't as positive, but all these things together, like, it's just, I'm done. And, I was telling my buddy the other day, I'm really sad, but, I think there's better things I can spend my time doing for entertainment, probably spend more time, making content and preaching truth and encouraging my fellow Black men to be better and to make more responsible decisions. Speak on that point. Speaking of, again, guys, this is why, I mean, it's hard to see the woman in the pictures and video I've seen, but, probably some attractive white girl who Jonathan Majors, oh, I'm making it big now. Let me get me an attractive white girl to be with. It's like we put so much emphasis on the race of the woman, how attractive she is, and we forget our discernment at the door. Like, and again, it's like, personal responsibility, guys. How are we allowing ourselves to be in all these situations where we're with a woman that tries to ruin our life, accuses us of something, tries to fight us, you know? We have to make better decision, and it's not just Black women. This is a white woman disrupting this guy's life. Even for Cosby, a lot of those were white women and women of other races. It's not a matter of a race of woman being better than the other or another culture of women. You have to be discerning of everybody. I don't care what religion they are. I don't care what part of the world they come from. Low vibrations are no respecter of persons. I don't know how many times I have to keep saying that. People think, oh, well, I just get a passport. Well, even, going to Passport Bros, Austin Holloman got ran out of Brazil. Again, I don't like to mention people by name negatively, but I mean, that's an example. You have men going to these countries, including Black men, getting drugged and stolen from. You got Black people in general going to certain places like Mexico, ended up being harmed or trafficked by cartels. Their life ends and the authorities don't even care. At any rate, guys, like I said, I'm done. Obviously, there's a teachable lesson in this story. We just have to be so careful about the woman in your life. That's why I'm so happy, in my personal life, someone who technically an ex, she's come back to my life and we're working on things, trying to get back together. Um, I'm just so grateful to have someone trustworthy in my life. And she showed me on multiple occasions what kind of person she was. Well, even when I was wrong, and there's a lot of ways I was a jerk to her, but she never went messy. She never went low. That's what we need to prioritize. You want to talk about dress size and how much did you weigh the last time you weighed yourself? I mean, I understand that. I want a healthy woman as well and a woman who keeps herself up. But what's even more crucial is who she is in her heart. Is she angry? Does she have unresolved issues? Does she lash out against other people? Is she a jealous type? All these things we have to think about. Again, can't just trust people just because they're another race. Obviously a lot of Black men have had issues with Black women, but again, this is a people thing. This is a low vibrational woman thing. This is a low vibrational people thing. And even to the ladies listening, again, I mean, a lot of our sisters thinking, oh, I'll go to a white man. I'll go to a man from another country. And then they end up in their own messes. They think it's just Black men who are low vibrational and negative and shiftless and whatever other words they want to throw at us, but it's everybody. We all have to be discerning. And in our discernment, sometimes, we have to recognize when we no longer want to be a part of something. And I think that's the situation I'm in right now. It's not to say I'll never watch another movie or TV show again, but certainly not something that's my favorite thing, to be quite honest. And I want to try to support it as little as possible. I'd rather spend my money supporting content creators who tell the truth, like shouting out Ricky Manor, for instance. People like Sub Zero, who likes to share the truth. I don't agree with Sub on everything, but these are men who are dedicated to truth, people who are dedicated to truth. On the women's side, shouting out Crimson Cure, people like that. I'd rather support that content than Hollywood. At any rate, guys, I think that's my message for now. And as I always end my shows, remember, low vibrations are at an all-time high in this world. From the media, from mainstream entertainment, and a lot of those low vibrations are directed towards us as Black men. But brothers, remember, stay high vibrational. Namaste and peace to everyone.